I was 14 and I'd only just gotten boobs. Freshman year is hard, y'all. And I had to do it in a new place with all new people. But hey, I'm a people person. So even though I did not want to change schools, figured I'd be okay. It's important for you all to know that my mother never met a holiday decoration she didn't like, including clothing that lights up. Yeah, she was always trying to give me some nonsense, making me wear it, but that year, she managed to find me a Hanukkah shirt that I actually thought was kind of cute. Now, Hanukkah had come early that year, so I'd only been at my new school a couple months when it was time to celebrate. And I was kind of excited to wear my cute new shirt and show it off to my new friends. But moments after I stepped onto campus, a friend grabbed my arm and pulled me into the bathroom with a worried look on her face. She said, "Do you have another shirt to change into?" I was now terrified that I had ripped a hole in my shirt and one of my brand new boobs was popping up to say hello. But before I even had a chance to look down to see if it was Boobay or Boobie who was showing her pretty face, she continued. She said, "Nobody here knows you're Jewish yet. And if you change your shirt, you can keep it that way." Thing is, she was actually trying to help. She'd lived in that community her whole life, and she knew all too well how differently people would treat me with this new piece of information. Not in a good way. She was being kind to me in the very best way that she knew how. And first, I admit, I got pretty scared. But by that point, I'd already become quite a little activist. See, Mom took me to the picket lines when her teachers' union almost had to go on strike. She took me to knock doors for political candidates and to protests and rallies. And inspired by those experiences, I'd started a club at my junior high school called Kids Who Care, and we raised money for all kinds of things like food and housing insecure people. I wrote to elected officials, and I challenged school leadership on issues that mattered to my fellow classmates. So yeah, by that point, standing up for what's right, even when it was scary, was not new to me. So right after that fear, the next thought in my head was how I was definitely not gonna back down in the face of that kind of bigotry. So I stomped out of that bathroom like I was on RuPaul's Drag Race trying to take home the crown. And after all, this was far from my first interaction with anti-Semitism. I'll never forget the bomb threats at my synagogue or the swastikas painted on its walls. I'll never forget the first time I saw the numbers on my grandmother's arm and I asked her about them. She just started softly crying, and Mom and Dad had to take me away someplace else and distract me. You know, growing up Jewish, you always know about the Holocaust, but how do you explain to a 4-year-old about people being branded like cattle and about your own grandmother being one of them? So that conversation would come a bit later when I was a little bit older. So no, this wasn't new to me. And I already knew how to stand tall in the face of hate, bigotry, and oppression. It's something that's been with me my entire life, either through work or volunteering or being that annoying person who posts long political rants on Facebook. That's me, yeah. I stand up. But something I didn't realize until fairly recently is that as much as I spent my whole life being vocally brave about issues or for other people or against inequality and oppression at large, the one thing I hadn't really done much of was stand up for me. And it's at this point that I tell you that at 40 years old, I broke up with my stepmother. Going through lots of therapy, right? Lots of therapy. I have come to learn that the strong people, those of us who've been put through a lot and therefore can take a lot, sometimes we take too much. Sometimes we don't set healthy boundaries. Sometimes we let people beat us up because, hey, we're tough. We can take it. And that was me. All the time. I would quietly acquiesce when I got put down and told about everything that was wrong with me. I would placate those around me, give in on disagreements, apologize when at least there was fault to go around, but more often when there really wasn't much on my side of things. I would smile, and I would nod, and I would do what I was told, and I would agree with every negative thing that got said about me, even when I didn't think those things were negative at all, even when I kind of liked those things about me. I made myself small. I didn't tell people about whole parts of who I am because I knew they wouldn't accept it. I've still never actually told my stepmother that I'm queer. But then again, I broke up with her. And when you break up with someone, they no longer get to take up space in your life. They no longer get the gift of knowing you, much less knowing some of the most important parts about you. It was my birthday, and I was in a musical. And like they'd always done, Dad and Stepmom bought plane tickets to come see me in the show without bothering to ask if the timing of the visit worked for me. It didn't, but wasn't standing up for myself, remember? So instead of doing what I wanted to do for my birthday, I spent 3 days following them around as they did things they wanted to do. Going to the other side of town because they didn't like my part of town. Eating where they wanted to eat. Shopping where they wanted to shop. Or really me standing around while they shopped where they wanted to shop. Just giving in and making myself small in every way. Happy birthday to me! During brunch, shortly before they were to head to the airport to go home, she said to me, "I really wish I'd taught you to be a more considerate person." Now, I don't remember what topic we were on. I don't remember the name of the restaurant. I don't remember what time it was, or what I was wearing, or what the weather was like that day. But I will never, not ever in my entire life, forget those exact words. I really wish I'd taught you to be a more considerate person. And something inside me just snapped. A light switch just flipped, and in a flash, I was done. I was done being small, and I was done taking the hits, and I was done placating and agreeing and not standing up for myself. I think I kind of shocked the bejesus out of him when I opened my mouth and actually didn't hold back for a change. When I tried for the very first time in my life to say what I really wanted to say and to stand up for me. Thing is, I was really quite bad at it. I was really bad at it, which is really weird considering how much practice I had had at standing up for things that weren't me. You would think all of that experience would come in handy, but it's different. And I was not eloquent. I was not calm, cool, and collected. I was probably not making much sense. But I did it. And then she tried to tell me that I had misheard her. And it was right then in that moment that I realized how big a shift this had been for me, because I just laughed. I just laughed, and suddenly it just seemed so absurd that I had been taking this for decades. And then I realized I didn't have to stay there. I could just go. And a sense of freedom and lightness washed over me as I got up and walked away. Now, if this were a movie, from that moment on, I'd be a take-no-nonsense gal who never looked back. It's not, though. It's real life. So, admittedly, my journey from that point has been in fits and starts. I am still not nearly as good at standing up for myself as I am for others. But I'm working on it. Because it's work worth doing. And I guess I finally figured out that I'm worth doing it for. And so are you. And so are you. And you. And you. And you. And you. And you. And you.